Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to have a full body practice as usual, but we're going to have a little more awareness and focus on our hips. So all you'll need for today's practice is a mat and a blanket. If you've got bricks and you find them helpful, then keep them handy as well. So let's get started in the comfortable centering position of your choice. And just give yourself just a moment to arrive. Remember, it's always helpful to either defocus your eyes or just close your eyes when you begin. And just allow your weight to really settle into your sits bones so that you feel that rootedness right through the sits bones against the floor. And when you start to feel that anchoring through the floor that way, you'll just notice if you can really become a little bit more present. Often that allows that presence and awareness to begin just by centering yourself in this way. And when you find that position, can you then release any unnecessary muscle tension? And it's likely to be more in the upper body, and just see if you can soften and relax the face, the jaw, the shoulders. And you'll just have a little sense of space between the ears and the shoulders. And a slight sense that the heart is just lifting up ever so slightly. And then become more and more aware of your breath. And what you're trying to do, of course, is to lengthen and soften the breath. So really have a full, long inhale. If it helps, sigh it out through the mouth, nice and long. Especially if you're feeling any tension at all. Maybe even do that again. You're trying to really release the tension as you exhale, if you're sensing that it's in your body right now. Lovely. And then again, just shape the breath as you know how to do. As you inhale, you're breathing in from collarbones all the way down to the rib cage. And if you've got any inhale left, you're taking it right down into the abdomen. And when you exhale, it's a nice smooth exhale. You just begin by a little firming in the tummy muscles. Just try to exhale as completely as you can, and just do that for just a very few more breaths. And if you can and desire to take it just a layer deeper, you might want to try to imagine that your pelvic floor is slightly lifting when you exhale. Some of you who've been practicing for a while may be able to get a sense that the pelvic floor lifting, you can sense it all the way up into the spine and maybe all the way up into the crown of the head. Just a slight little change when you become aware of the pelvic floor. Don't worry if that doesn't mean anything to you. Just focus on long, slow breaths. And then if you will, just slip your eyes open. And on your next exhale, let the arms come to the sides of the body and turning the palms outward. As you inhale, you're going to breathe the arms really up high over your head. And as you continue to root down through the sits bones, with your next inhale, take those finger points even higher up. Just feel that lovely length. When you exhale, can you just lean a little bit over to the right, still rooted on both right and left sits bones. It's a slight just curve from the rib cage upward. And when you inhale, get length again at center. And exhale over to the other side. Nice little curve. Just feel everything. Slight little movements. As you inhale, reach back up again. And exhale, bring those arms down and just allow the left hand to come to the right knee, the right hand to come behind. You can TP those fingers in the back just so you can keep length through the torso. As you exhale next, go ahead and come into just a little spinal twist. You're just turning ever so slightly the rib cage and the collarbones to the right and gazing over to the right. Inhaling to center, get the body or the torso rather nice and lengthened, and then you can exhale over to the other side into a twist. Just a slight little twist. It's one of the first movements that we've done, so make it nice and easy for yourself. Again, you're just feeling a little broadening in the rib cage and the left collarbone as you look behind yourself to the left. And then inhale to center. Hands to the heart. Namaste. And from here, we're going to just come to the floor just for a few minutes. So come on down from here. All the way down so that your back is onto the floor. And when you first get there, bring the knees up towards the chest or armpits. Envelop your body, or envelop the legs rather, with the arms. Exhale as fully as you can. If it feels okay, you can raise your forehead towards your knees. Really firm abdominal contraction. As you inhale, let's spread all the way out into a full frontal stretch. You're really reaching. And then one more time, exhaling, knees in towards the chest. Really firm abdominal contraction. If all is well, you can bring your forehead between your knees. And then as you inhale, nice long length all through the body, all through the arms and the legs. Lovely. And then let's exhale, arms to the sides of the body. Bend the knees, put the soles of the feet on the floor. Just going to have a slight little movement here. As you exhale, bring the right knee in towards the chest. Straighten the left leg out, and on the next exhale, go ahead and bring that right knee in towards the armpit or the chest a little bit more. Press out through the left foot. Feel the length in the left side of the body. Lovely. Release this just a little bit, and then let's just have a little twist on the exhale. Left palm cups the right knee. Bring the right arm out to the right, and as you exhale, just guide the arm, or rather the leg, over. And just notice, if anything, try to keep the left leg as if it's standing on a surface. It can go over a little bit to the left, but don't let it lose its length as you're going over across the midline of the body with the knee. Just have a couple breaths. Turn your head slightly to the right and just feel the resistance in the body, and just see if you can just calmly soften it just a little bit. And then allow that knee to come back to the midline. And slowly bring it a little closer in and bring your left arm over to the left. And then bring that bent right knee over to the right. And you're trying to move it in a little arc, a little semicircle. As you exhale, bring it back in. And as you inhale, bring it out. A couple more times like that. So just notice if there's any sensation in that right hip joint. You're just being really easy with it and just moving it just to whatever your range of motion is. Very good. And then when you come back to center the next time, bring your arms in and raise the right leg straight up and press the sole out towards the ceiling, and just clasp your hands right around the back of that thigh. Press out and towards the ceiling with the foot, and just feel that little resistance as the thigh is pressing into the backs of the hand, or the palms of the hands rather, and the palms of the hands are pushing back into the thigh, and just feel that resistance. For another breath. release that little bend and extending in the knee. And then try to see how long and straight you can get that leg on your next inhale. Arms up to the sides of the body now. And as you exhale, just bring that right leg straight down. Little abdominal core work here. Very good. And then draw the left leg in. Cup your, or rather interlock your hands in front of the left shin and just draw the left thigh nice and close in towards the body. And really feel the right leg now extended long. Just have a breath or two in this position. And then shift so you can hold on to the left knee with the right hand and bring that left arm out. As you exhale, you're going to guide that left bent leg across the midline of the body, but at the same time, you're trying to keep the right leg extended. So you spread your awareness in different places and just see what happens. Taking that left leg across the midline just as far as it wants to go, but at the same time, you're pressing out through the right sole of the foot. And so you will reach the little wall of resistance. And all you do is respect that and just soften your breath around that. And then as you exhale next, you're going to bring that leg back to the center. Let the left hand now cup the right knee, and the right arm is now extended to the right. And just that little movement as you inhale, you're opening that leg out to the left. Nice big semicircle. And your exhale, bringing it back. Just like that. Let your breath be long and slow, but really pay attention to what's going on inside that joint. And how does it feel as you're moving it side to side like that? Very good. And then the next exhale, you're bringing it close in again to the midline. Bring the arms to the sides of the body as you inhale. Bring the leg up, and then you can cup right around, or interlock rather, right around the back of your thigh. Press the heel towards the ceiling and feel that slight resistance of the thigh going into the interlocked hands. And those interlocked hands pushing back into the thigh. And just against that sort of tight feeling resistance, you're just going to breathe a long, slow breath, maybe 2. And then let go there with the hands and bend and extend the knee just a few times. And then one last time, stretch out nice and long through the leg, pressing out through the heel and slowly exhaling that straight leg to the floor. Little abdominal core work. Very good. Bring both knees into the chest and hugging the thighs right close in towards the armpits or towards the chest. And then widen those groins a little bit, rocking side to side. And just enjoy the sensations, but also be sure that you're paying attention to any, the niggles as well as the pleasant sensations. Anything that's happening, you are aware of. Very good, and then come to stillness and bring the legs together. If it feels okay, you can rock and roll on your spine, tucking the chin into the chest. Encourage yourself to do this. If you're on a hardwood floor, it's not so nice, but it's really good to teach your spine to round like this. And slowly come on up into a seated position. And from your seated position, let's go ahead and come into Baddha Konasana or bound angle. So here we are, soles of the feet together. A lot of us, if your knees are way up like mine are today, it's probably best if you just put your fingertips, your hands behind with fingertips to the floor, what you're actually trying to do is press into the feet and get a little length in your spine, okay? You might be able to do that with the hands to the front, some of you, if your knees are low. If not, remember, just put your hands right behind and release the groin slightly and let your heart just lift a little bit. Let your torso lift. Let those shoulders descend down. Face is softened. And we're going to have just a little shift here. So come off of that just a little bit. You can round the spine, contract the abdomen. What you're going to do is just roll over into Sage's pose of Sages, which is just bringing the sole of that right foot into the left thigh. Widening the knees as much as is comfortable. Place your right hand behind you wherever it's comfortable. You may need to TP those fingers, and put your left hand on your hip. And try to get a sense of lengthening in the torso. And all I want you to do is every time you exhale, just take your left hip, and you can let the hand help push a little bit towards the right. And then back. Just like that, just a little movement. And when you're moving that left hip towards the right, feel yourself contracting the left gluteal muscle a little bit. Just pay attention. We need to do this 8 to 10 times. So we need to pay attention to any sensation you're feeling in the low back, in the hip joint. You're just going back and forth, a little swaying motion here. After about 8 or 10 times, I want you to come into the full pose. We've done this before, so remember the both feet are actually relaxed, but the sole of that right foot is towards the thigh of the left, and then you're going to move this left hand across the midline of the body, meet the right hand, and I want you to come up on TP fingers as much as is comfortable to feel a lift in the heart. And you can look upwards at a diagonal if it's comfortable. And you're just trying to come into as much of a twist on this side as is comfortable for your body. Just hold it for a breath. And then let's release right back to the center position. Back into your Baddha Konasana. Just have a breath here as you lift the heart. We're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So remember, all you're doing is you're putting the right sole of the foot to the floor. And you're shifting over onto the left hip, and you're just finding the position where you can be comfortable. You separate those two knees as much as you need, but that left now sole of the foot is going to be resting on the right thigh. Right hip, or rather right hand is on the right hip, and the left hand is your anchor, and it's holding you up as high as you need to. You can either be on your knuckles or on your TP fingers. Relax this right thigh and groin as much as you can. And then we're just going to start hoisting, lifting the hip just slightly over to the left. And that right hand can help. You're just pushing a little bit, but then you contract the right gluteal muscle. Just back and forth. It's just a little movement. And again, we're going to do this about 8 or 10 times. And just be aware of whatever sensation is going on in the hip. Just notice that if you contract that hip, the gluteals even more, you might feel even more sensation in the hip joint. So just see what's in there, see what you're feeling today. And after about 8 or 10 times, you can just hold that hip lifted up, and you're going to reach with the right hand, and you have to find your own way here, so just make sure you're comfortable where you can hold this pose for 2 or 3 breaths, and you can look upward, let the heart have a rise in it, and you're looking upward maybe at a diagonal, relaxing the face. And then last release as you exhale. Back to the starting position for just a moment, into Baddha Konasana, just gently and slowly. And then we're going to come out of that and come right into the hands and knees position. So come into the position of tabletop Hands are really rooted down. You know what to do. And just have a little breath here. As you exhale, we're going to sink our hips back towards our heels, and the elbows are going to touch the floor. Let your exhale extend so you can really release your low back. When you inhale, press into the tops of your feet and roll the weight into your hands. And feel the weight in the inner hands as you lift your heart just slightly. Exhaling right back into starting position. Just have a few breaths like this. As you inhale, all you're doing is rising up and lifting the heart slightly. You want to find your inner hands. And then as you exhale, releasing back down again. So you want to allow yourself about 4 or 5 repetitions of that. It's called Chakrasana. And the next time you've exhaled and hips are back towards the knees, or rather towards the heels, I want you to stretch way out your arms into an extended child's pose. So in this position, your elbows will not be on the floor. Just feel the length here in the spine. And see if you can, as you spread your fingers out, can you find your inner hands just slightly? And just find that little pressure downward with the inner hands. Press a little more into the left hand and just turn the right part of your chest towards the right. And back to center as you inhale. As you exhale, a little more pressure into the right hand and lift your left side of your chest. Look in that direction. And then inhale and release. And from here, we're going to have just that little movement. You're going to, on the inhale, you're going to pull. It's actually a big movement, sorry. You're going to pull and just traction your body right through the arms, coming forward with your hips into the upward facing dog position. Lift your heart, lift your gaze. As you exhale, full abdominal contraction as you pull back into the starting position. Just like that. As you inhale, remember you're pulling the floor towards you. Elbows are pointing down. You can stay as low as your arm strength allows you, and you're pulling through into an upward facing dog. You want your shoulders away from the ears, nice long necks, heart rising, gaze rising. As you exhale, feel the abdominal contraction help pull you back to the starting position. And just one last time, really enjoy this as you pull the body through. Just notice the strength in your arms that it takes to pull you through. Hips going all the way through, push into the hands and feel the arm strength even more. As you lift the heart, lift your gaze. As you exhale, feel the abdominal contraction. Just pulling you back to tabletop now. Lining up, knees under the hips and the hands come a little further ahead. And then you're going to flex the toes under and push into your downward facing dog. Go ahead and let the neck be nice and soft and relaxed. Find your way in downward facing dog now. So you might need to pedal it out a little bit depending on how tight your calf muscles are. And just do whatever you need to do with movement to really make this pose be your own. Just create whatever you need for yourself in downward facing dog. Lovely. As you inhale, slowly feel the control as in the arms, as you just bring the knees to the floor, one movement, coming into the cow pose, lifting the heart. As you exhale, tucking the tailbone under, chin goes under, nice firm abdominal contraction as you come into a bit of a cat position. As you inhale one more time into the cow position, just allow the chest to roll through the arms, looking up. As you exhale, we're going to come into the extended child's pose. You can leave your toes tucked underneath. Release As you inhale, we're going to come into plank pose. So you'll need the strength, power up in the arms, power up in the core. Come into your plank pose. Let the weight be poised under the big toes, the big toe mound. Lovely. As you exhale, we're going to come into downward facing dog. So really firm up in the abdominal core. It's like you're going over a little hurdle as you lift the tummy up and come on back into your downward facing dog. Very good. And inhale, knees touch the floor. Let's come into a little bit of a cow pose. Make sure the arms are isometrically coming towards each other. Lifting the heart, lifting the tailbone. As you exhale, coming into the cat position, nice rounded spine. And inhale, rolling back into the cow position, gazing up. As you exhale, release into an extended child's pose. Feel the low back release towards the hips. As you inhale, coming into the plank pose. As you exhale, downward facing dog. Remember, core is really strong. As the core muscles draw in, just lift and come on back into your downward facing dog. One more time, let's do that little sequence. As you inhale, cow position. Remember, as you're lowering the knees, the arms are isometrically coming towards each other. And then you can lift the heart, lift the tailbone. Exhaling, cow position. Rounding the spine. Inhaling, rolling through to the cow position again. And exhaling into the extended child's pose. Inhaling into your into your plank, From your plank pose, let the knees touch the floor. And just see if you can use your arm strength. And just try to lower down so your chest can touch the floor first. If it doesn't work, you can just come to the floor with utilizing a little bit of that arm strength. And coming down to the floor. You want to leave your elbows a little bit bent so the forearms, if you need them to, can push into the floor. And just rest your forehead on the floor for just a moment. Now from here, I want you just to bend the right knee, and the right foot can be anywhere along the inseam of that leg. It's sort of like a tree pose in the prone position. And find your sense of awareness of the position first. Lovely. And then you're going to keep pressing into the right forearm, but I want you to come up onto the left finger points, the TP, those fingers just a little bit. And first, before you move, find just a little bit of length in your torso by pointing the tailbone down. And then just ever so slightly pushing into the hands, the left hand. I want you just to turn towards the left just a little bit with your chest. Maybe gaze also. Just see what that feels like. You can come back in and out of the pose if you'd like. So just slightly pushing into your left hand. You're bracing with the right forearm. You're pressing into those left finger points as you turn slightly the chest towards the left. And then coming back to center. And just pause at center now and make sure you're nice and long. Now your left toes can either be tucked under or they can be flat along the floor. What I want is you to choose the position that gives you the most body awareness. Lovely. And then I want you to notice your left hip. Notice your right hip and your right knee, the bent knee side. And notice that knee sort of anchored to the floor. I want you to really contract your outer right gluteal muscles and see just that act of contracting the right gluteal muscles. Does it make any change in the knee? Does it feel a tiny bit lighter? Can you possibly get the left groin a little bit closer to the floor by contracting that right hip. Just see what happens. And then can you add that movement of contracting the right hip as you turn the chest just slightly towards the left. And again, I want you to really feel your way through this where you're not trying to accomplish anything. You're trying to have a real exercise in awareness. Just see what that feels like. And then come on back to center, release your arms, stretch that right leg out, and maybe wag the tail a little bit. And then I just want you to bring the right knee as high as you can up towards the armpit. And just see what happens here. What you're trying to do as you do that is to keep the right side of your chest on the floor. Just see what happens as you try to get nice and heavy through the right groin. Maybe press a little bit with contracting that right gluteal muscle. And can you get the right groin just a little tiny bit closer to the floor? Just see what happens. And then all I want you to do now on your next exhale is to totally release and relax and just let everything on that right side get nice and heavy, as if you're trying to surrender the weight of the hip and groin to the floor. Very good. And then let's stretch that right leg back out. And again, just wag the tail side to side. Let's do the exact same thing to the other side. I'm going to turn this way in case you have any confusion about what we're doing. So now we're back onto forehead to the floor and the forearms bent just a little bit. I want you just to bring the left knee into the tree pose. So the left sole of the foot is somewhere, maybe around your knee or wherever really it's comfortable for you. And you will notice right away in this prone position, because the floor is giving you lots of feedback, you will notice how far away your hip point and groin is away from the floor. And remember, you're not forcing anything. You're just aware now and noticing. Lovely. And then you're going to really anchor with that left forearm, and you're going to press into the right finger points. And all you're going to try to do is just with a nice long torso, you're going to try to turn slightly the chest towards the right. Just very slightly, and then back again. Little movements here. You're pressing into the right hands as you turn your chest to the right. And then release just slightly. So you're going to focus now on the left gluteal muscle. Contract that just a little bit. And that contraction, does it let you bring the left groin a slightly bit closer to the floor? And it may not. Again, we're just experimenting here. And then release the contraction of your glute and just go back and forth with that. It's just about really feeling tiny little changes that come in the body just with incorporating one part of the body and then the other. And so now with a contraction in the left gluteal muscle, can you press into the right finger points and try to turn the chest a little more to the right? Lovely, and release. And stretch that left leg out for just a moment. Little movement in the hips if you need it. And then we're just going to move that left hip or left knee as close in towards the armpit, towards the body. It's little frog legs here. The right leg is nice and long, and you're feeling everything moving or bending in on the left side now. So nice and easy. Contract the left gluteal muscle, and can you bring the knee out and get the groin slightly closer to the floor, and then release the effort. Just like that, little contraction in the left hip joint, or left gluteal muscle rather, and then bringing that groin a little closer to the floor. and then release. And then all I want you to do now is just allow that left groin, that left hip to go nice and heavy, and just surrender for a breath or two. Lovely. And then slowly you're going to bring that left leg back down, point the toes down, and lift the legs. The next time you lift the knees and keep the toes grounded to the floor. Just lift the knees and thighs and point the tailbone towards your heels. And then release the thighs to the ground. Just sway side to side just a little bit. Lovely. And then we're going to come on back up again into the hands and knees position. And from your hands and knees position, go ahead and put your hands one hand length further ahead. Come into your downward facing dog. And inhale the right leg back. On the exhale, just try to bring that right leg underneath and right between the right and left hand into your lunge, and then drop the back knee. So now here we are into the low lunge. Make sure that the sole of the front foot is really rooted into the floor. Make sure the back leg is centered right down in the middle of that shin. And if all feels well, can you come up onto your, with your interlocked hands just behind the front knee. Just see what this feels like. If all is well, maybe you can just exhale, release the arms, allow the muscles of the torso and the core to hold you, and then inhale, reach the arms up and really reach high. Can you hold this for 3 breaths? And so the whole time you're holding it, you are aware of the right foot rooted down, the left knee rooted down, and you're reaching up the rib cage away from your pelvis. Lovely. And then exhale, release the arms to the floor. And if you're feeling okay, go ahead and bring the right hand to the big toe side of the foot and walk that right sole of the foot out just a little bit. You can turn the toes slightly outward, and that's fine. Make sure the knee tracks in the same direction as your toes. And then let's just have a little movement. We're swaying side to side just a little bit here. And you are noticing every little sensation you're feeling. After several little movements, if it feels okay, you might be able to come down a little lower onto your forearms. And if you can't, it's absolutely fine. This hip joint is telling you what to do. So if it doesn't feel right with you when you come onto the forearms, then you're not going to do that. Just allow another couple breaths here. If you might be all the way up here and it's fine, but you're trying to go as low to the floor as you can now. And then using a little bit of strength in your arms to take some of your weight, you're going to walk that right leg back. Flex the left toes under and lift into your high lunge. And make sure you establish your high lunge where you feel that back heel pushing back. And from here, on your exhale, come into a pyramid pose where you feel the weight rolling onto the back ball of the foot as you straighten the front leg as much as you're able to do. And you just bow over that front leg. As you inhale, you come back into the high lunge. As you exhale, into the pyramid pose. Inhaling into the lunge, lifting your heart, looking forward. And exhaling into the pyramid pose. And the next time you inhale and come into the pyramid pose, stay there for just a brief moment. Bring your hands in, weight rather more into the left knuckles, the left hands, just so you can have a little twist here. Raising the right arm up, reaching up, And just allow that right knee to stay snugged in towards the midline of the body now. And then exhale, come down. Very nice. And from here, we're going to come back into downward facing dog. It's all right if you want to touch your knees to the floor for a moment. You've always got the option. We're going to come into a lunge, of course, on the other side, but you always have the option, if you prefer, you can come into your lunge from the hands and knees position and just move your left leg forward. Otherwise, a little more difficult, you can come in from downward facing dog and breathing the left leg up and then exhaling it under the body. So your choice here. As you come into the high lunge on the other side, you're going to drop the back knee so you're in a low lunge. Have a breath. You're assessing what's going on. How does that all feel? If it's all okay, you're going to interlock your hands just behind that front knee. You want to feel the length in the torso here. You want to feel the back knee anchoring into the floor. If all is well, you can allow the arms to drop down and feel the whole pose being held by your core. And then you can inhale and raise the arms up. 3 long, slow breaths here as you press into the front foot, into the back knee. And then slowly as you exhale, you're coming down. Once you're to the floor here, you're going to go ahead and bring your left hand to the big toe side of the left foot and walk that left leg or foot out just as much as is comfortable. Find your little lizard pose here and just a little movement. Swaying your hips, taking weight into the arms and just seeing what's going on inside before we progress any further. And after several repetitions of that, you might decide that you can come a little bit lower to the floor, on weight onto the forearms. Of course, what I noticed right away, it's easier for me just to plow my weight into my right forearm and keep the left light, but I just try to resist that a little bit and keep weight into both forearms. Just feel the effort in the pose, feel the stretch, feel everything that's happening, and just allow your breath to be calm and slow, regardless of what's happening. And then when you've had enough, you're going to take weight back into the arms. And then walk the heel and toe back to center with the left foot. And when you're there, you're going to flex the back toes under and come in to your high lunge. And just place yourself into the high lunge. And when you're there, feels nice and secure, just do that little vinyasa where you're exhaling into pyramid pose. And you're inhaling back into the high lunge, pressing that back heel back towards the wall behind you as you lift your heart just a little bit. And exhaling into the pyramid pose. Inhales are the high lunges. And the exhale is your pyramid pose. And the next time you've inhaled into your high lunge, just stay there for a moment and shift your weight over to the right knuckles or the right hand, whatever helps give you stability. And then you're going to inhale into your twist. As you inhale into the twist, make sure you allow that back heel to lengthen back, and so you can open up a little more into your twist. And slowly as you exhale next, you're going to bring that left hand down. And coming back nice and slowly into your downward facing dog. Release the neck as much as you can. Just find a tiny bit of breathing and movement here. Slowly, let's all bring our knees to the floor and come into your version of pose of a child now. And in your pose of a child, just really allow the head to release to the floor, to your hands, and allow the hips to release down towards your heels. And from this pose of a child, we're just going to ever so slowly and gently start to make our way. And so we're all going to come to standing. And you know how to do this, so you're going to just segue and transition slowly. First to kneeling, and then maybe to the squatting position, if your knees allow that. And then we're all going to slowly come up to standing from here. So all of us coming to standing, if you will just slowly make your way into Tadasana. Feeling that weight anchored through the feet and pressing down equally big toe, little toe side of the foot as well as the heel. Just feeling that gradual lengthening in the body. And from your mountain pose, turning the palms outward as you inhale, breathe the arms up over your head. Feel the length all the way from the tailbone to the crown of the head. And as you exhale, release the arms down. Just keep expanding your awareness as you inhale. You're feeling the length from the feet all the way to the crown of the head. But also notice that little length from the tailbone upward as well, creating a little bit of space more in your lower back. And as you exhale, you release it down. Just one more time with awareness, you're inhaling, feeling the taking up lots of space and feeling all the length in the arms, the legs, and the torso. And slowly exhaling right back to the starting position. And from your mountain pose, you're going to broaden your legs, broaden your feet rather. Nice wide position here. Inhaling the arms into your 5-pointed star. And take that moment you need to really feel the anchoredness through the feet and the length from breastbone to finger point on either side. And with this, softening the knees just a little bit so you can rotate or pivot rather the front foot, right foot forward, and just kick that back heel back a little bit. Very nice. And make sure that the heart is as far into center as you can get it. And when you've done that, just turn your gaze over your front fingertips as you exhale. Lower the right knee. And just feel yourself sinking into your warrior two. Coming back out, lowering the arms as you exhale, and then inhaling into the pose. Exhaling and inhaling into the pose. Just hold that pose when you feel ready to do that. You want to feel, remember, the weight all the way to the little toe side of the back foot, and you want to sink down as low as you can and sustain it. You'll allow yourself 3 or 4 breaths in this pose if it's possible. And then all I want you to do is you release, bringing the arms down, legs down, keeping the legs pretty much positioned as they are. I want you to inhale the arms up one more time. Find the real width from the breastbone to the finger points. And we're going to come into triangle pose now. So remember, in triangle pose, the front leg stays straight. So it's a particular challenge to some of us. I just want you to feel the left part of your hip going back to the left. It's just a little, but when you do that, don't collapse the right side of the body into the right thigh. You're still keeping space there. And then you reach. The legs stay strong, and the length reach comes from the torso, core, and the arms. When you've done that as far as you can, you're just going to windmill down. Wherever that hand touches is fine. If you do have a brick and you want to use it, you might be able to put the brick to the floor and reach that. If you don't have a brick, remember there's no worries. You're just touching somewhere with that lower hand, so you can reach up nice and high with the upper hand. And what you're trying to do is keep that back foot very anchored to the floor. So it's a little bit of, it's your rooted place. And then keeping length in the torso, maybe you can turn your chest a little more skyward. Just see what happens. When you've had enough, you can come out. Remember, you want to just look down at your front toes, bend the front knee, and come back. Find your way back first to warrior two. And then release it. Turning toes to the center. And then, if you do have a brick and you want to transfer it over to the left side, do that now. Otherwise, just come back to your 5-pointed star whenever you're ready, in either case, actually. And then slowly, we're going to pivot. Left toes are now going to be coming out to the left. It becomes the front foot, the left foot, and then the right heel kicks back. And just make sure this position feels really good to you. So you're going to come in and out of warrior two as you find it. Remember that back foot is the anchor in this pose. And when you come in and out 3 or 4 times, you'll find the point where you just want to be able to settle. And to be able to really sustain this pose and sink low, you must have your back gluteal muscle has to be engaged. That back leg has to be strong, and you have to feel the weight going all the way into the foot, little toe side of the back foot. And when you're ready, you can release this pose, keeping the legs as they are, reaching back with the arms, and we're going to just see what happens in triangle pose. So from the vertical position in the torso, the hips are just going to go to the right just a little bit, right up to the side, and that begins your pose. And you may not be able to go very far. A lot of it does depend on your knees and your hip joints. So you're just going to reach, get long through the torso, reaching out of the pelvic bowl and the arms, and you may, wherever you come is fine, even if your hand ends up being on your thigh. So when you find your position, you're going to raise the right arm as much as you can. As you reach the right arm, it actually can help take weight out of the lower hand. So you don't want to plow weight into the leg too much at all. If your bottom hand is pressing into a brick, it's a little easier. You can really start to feel length and spaciousness in the center of your chest. And remember, the work in the pose is, once you get there, is to find length, keep length in the torso, and just turn the chest a little bit towards the ceiling. Slowly as you come out, you're turning your gaze towards your toes, in the front, bending the knee, finding your way back to warrior two just briefly, and then releasing. And then you can heel and toe all the way back to Tadasana. And just place your hands to the heart. Lower your gaze. And have 3 long, slow breaths. Really bringing the breath fully into the body. And releasing all the stillness as you exhale. And then from here, we'll close from a reclining position. So come all the way down into the reclining position now and really hold your abdominal core as you lie back. Coming all the way down to the floor now. Bring the arms over the head. Interlock your hands if that's comfortable, or you can just press the thumbs down. I just want you to be able to keep the arms comfortably over your head for just a couple of breaths here. And as if your feet are standing on a surface, make sure that the toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. On your next inhale, get as long as you can and feel like the length is coming from the midline of the body out to either side. Really feel the length begin there, and then you're as long as you can be from the waistline out to either top and bottom of the body, head to toe, nice and tall. And maybe you're so lengthened in the legs that your heels elevate from the floor just a little bit. And release. Lovely. Arms are to the sides of the body, bringing the right knee into the chest as you exhale. Gather that knee nice and close into the body and extend the left leg. And then switch sides. You want to feel real length now in the right leg. So it really is energetically getting longer on the whole of the right side, particularly the right leg. As you exhale, you're gathering the left knee close into the body. Very nice. And then release the left sole of the foot to the floor, and then the right. And widen those feet just a little bit, 2 or 3 steps to the either side. And the arms can be a little bit away from the body. As you exhale, let both knees go over to the right. And when you get there, press a little more firmly into the big toe side of the left foot. As you inhale, reach the knees to the center or bring them back to center. And then exhaling over to the left. And when the knees are over to the left, you press a little more into the right, the big toe side of the right foot. Let's just do this a couple more times on either side. Very good. And from here, when you've come back to center now, you're going to walk the feet so that they touch, and then you can come right into a reclining Baddha Konasana, just like you did in the beginning. Just allow the groins to separate and open up, and your arms are out to the sides, or at least a 45-degree angle away from the body. Can you tuck your shoulder blades up underneath you? And just have 3 long, slow breaths when you find the position, just to really present yourself open in the front of the body. Just allow the groins to release as much as they can. And you're having really long, full breaths here. And then, if you will, bring the arms back to the rib cage and just roll a little bit onto the left side of your hip as you raise the right knee a little bit. So you're laying on the left thigh, the left hip, and just point the right knee a little away so the whole right gluteal muscle contracts and pushes away from the floor. And release. And then go to the other side. So you're rolling onto the right hip, the right thigh. And then you're going to push with the left knee away from the body and contract that left gluteal muscle. And then release. Maybe sway side to side a little bit. And when you're ready, we'll come out of that pose. Gather both knees in towards the chest. And you can use your arms as leverage and just bring those knees in towards the armpits as far as they'll go. And maybe a little coming in and out of that pose with breath. And then slowly, when you're ready, you're going to come into Shavasana from here. And you're very welcome just to come into your normal Shavasana. If in fact you would like to practice a little bit of, it's a posture enhancing movement, you can roll up your blanket into a roll that fits all the way from the tailbone to the neck, and you need that roll right on the center of your spine. So either position is fine, your normal Shavasana or Shavasana with a roll under your spine, a vertical roll under your spine. If this feels really easy, if you've got the roll, if you're using the roll and it feels really easy and it's not much of a stretch through the pecs, I suggest you bend your elbows, and with that position, you're putting the forearms and backs of the hands on the floor. Just give you a little bit more of a stretch if you'd like. And just for the next few breaths, whatever position you've chosen for your final relaxation pose, I want you just to take really long, slow breaths. And just explore whether or not it feels natural to allow the exhale to be a little longer than the inhale. And maybe you can just practice extending the exhale a little bit. And after a few breaths of experimenting with that longer exhale, whenever it feels, whenever you feel ready, just to allow the breath to do its own thing, then just shift into that mode where you're just breathing your natural spontaneous breath in your relaxation pose. And we will stay in the Shavasana, and we'll actually just conclude the video in Shavasana, since we didn't have quite as much time in the cooling down and relaxation phase of the practice. So I do invite you to stay here just as long as you'd like. Feeling the full surrender of the weight of your body along the floor. And namaste to all of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.